and then your team built everything or rewrote everything. You deployed that, you gave it to the users. You don't have any specific changes in your pipeline, in your backlog, and it's done, right?
No.
No. Most likely it isn't. It's just the beginning. And it's interesting that most of the internet is focused on how to code. Some people will say how to deploy it, do all the DevOps thing. Not many people are saying what's happening afterwards. And I would say that's actually majority of the journey. Maybe let's dig into that. And I will start by thanking Andrea for your feedback. I will try to work on my pace and my
Realization.
For people who struggle to understand me, there are closed captions that are made for you. And the same, comments are for you because this video is for you, especially if you are a business person who has to work with IT people, or if you are an IT person who learned to code and would like to learn about what's beyond coding, what's beyond DevOps, what are possibly another paths you could branch to if coding doesn't turn out to be for you. So that's what I'm gonna focus on this video. Let's dig in. And it's safe to assume that most businesses now will be operating in internet. If you're a shop, if you have a service, if that's a game, if this application for your mobile device, everything is based around the internet. Even Microsoft Office, if you look on it now, it's subscription that is linked to your one account, which is in the cloud. We could use like website or web service, e-commerce shop as a metaphor of almost all cases you'll be experiencing on this scale that we're discussing today. And to be honest, many businesses can start very simple. You can use out-of-the-box solutions like Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, WordPress. And none of them is sponsoring me, don't worry. But you can use them and build some meaningful business on top of them. That would be good to start with. Someone made the work of coding, someone deployed that. You have your workflow on it. You'll be interested in the metrics as a possibly business-minded person. You look into things like Google Analytics and observe your funnels. And for people who don't know what a funnel is, imagine like inverted cone, where on top you have, let's say, people who landed on your page. Lower you have people who have signed up to your newsletter. And on the bottom, you'll see people who actually confirm email. So you see that the amount of people is dropping, and you'll see where the struggle, where the funnel is getting narrower. So you need to improve on those things. And this is exactly the same what's happening with the code. You like to observe where things are going right or wrong. And actually right can be wrong. And I'll come back to that in a second. Imagine you have already some established traffic. So you know from your metrics how many people are going to your website, how many are checking out, and so on. And you would like to create an alert saying that traffic dropped. Because something may be broken, maybe your server is down, maybe load balancer is down, there's some change to Google algorithm. You want to know about that as soon as possible and react. Or if it's growing, something went viral, marketing strategy is working. But maybe you paid for servers with lower capacity and you need to prepare for that growth because it may reach the point that things will stop working and you will lose all that effort, all this viral effect. It's very important to start creating these metrics. And you can start with things like Google Analytics, but there's plenty of tools. Many of them are free or have a free tier. They will give you more details where people struggle technically. One popular is New Relic. I'm not endorsing them. They're one of many. I worked with them. They're quite okay, and they have a free tier. In tools like that, for instance, your team built everything focusing on Chrome, Google Chrome. And there is a problem that is affecting only people who are using iOS, Safari on iOS, on your iPhone. You wouldn't know about that, but from this metric, you can see that users, let's say on these platforms, are experiencing and they're seeing that error. And this error, these tools will give you details from that error. So that can be passed to your developer team to fix those bugs. Another interesting thing is, actually the most powerful is you will see how many of your hopeful features are not used by anyone. You will see how much of this code is dead. And this is the moment when you should stop inventing things in your boardroom sitting, that will be the next feature we'll be doing. No, you should look on the data and try to figure out what's working and try to improve it. Make experiments. And I will actually come back to that because that will be the biggest improvement after delivering code. So the interesting bit is that more you grow, you will see that you need people with very specific skills to look after all of that. You will see that next to possibly help desk and customer support, you need something we often call application support. Intel is quite similar team, but they will be focused on how your application, your service is operating. What are the metrics over there? Both business metrics, your KPIs, but also all the technical metrics. They wouldn't be possibly as into details as infrastructure network teams. They will be in the middle, and they will be also helping you run the experiments. So you don't want to just deploy new version. In the best scenario, you will take 10% of the traffic, and many platforms are allowing that. You take 10% of traffic, deliver new features or new changes to that, and this team will be looking how it affects your business KPIs and your technical KPIs, and it will help you decide if you should roll back or continue. And this should be like normal practice in your business to do those experiments and help them shape. And you will see around that quite interesting profession. This is good profession for people who found that coding isn't for them, but they want to stay technical, do some coding from time to time, but be more on a big picture. But then you see that some of them will really have to specialize not only on the tools you are building, but also on the services that you're using. Many organizations will use Microsoft Cloud for things like Outlook, Microsoft Office, and OneDrive. And someone has to look after who has access to what. If no one can steal data from outside, what is your storage management so you don't pay too much, or you don't lose data because it was set on short retention and it was just erased from the server because no one opened the document for a few years. And that creates another nice journey that someone can embark on, stay relatively technical, but not necessarily. The interesting bit about that is it plays well with current changes with AI. If you look how AI is affecting work of technical teams, it is kind of next iteration of programming. In the past, we had to do things directly on hardware. Now we work in more abstract ways. We don't worry too much about memory, storage, and then you have AI which can write some code, but we still need to supervise it. In most cases, in AI, someone needs to tell it what to do. Use simplified human language to give some direction and say, yes, you did good job, or no, you didn't. And it's quite similar to what application management, application support teams are doing. They have some technology which simplifies all the workflows for them, but they need to supervise it. They need still to drive it. This seems to be quite future-proof career path. It may be difficult to get into. You may have to spend time learning, getting some certificates. But once you're over there, it's really worth investigating, especially if you're working in enterprise. And there will be another teams which will be interested in all this data you are gathering in all the operational parts like InfoSec. We're living in times where our applications can be hacked. We can have an attack by flooding our servers. That can be done by competition by some bad players. You have to invest in either services or the teams who will be looking after. They'll be, let's say, checking the code and telling to your developer teams, you need to replace that, you need to rewrite that, you need to change this dependency because that's vulnerability and that can affect us. And as I was telling you, that I'll come back to this product definition. At some point, you create a data-driven product team. People who take this data and create experiments and create new features based on actually what's working, shaping product, choosing which features you should work on. And in general, that's how we work. In most enterprises, you have dev team, you have a QA team, you have application support team or release team, deployment team. Then you have people who are doing actual operations, InfoSec team, infrastructure team, and all will be working around the data or the metrics, and they'll be driving whatever, again, your dev team is doing. And this is exactly what makes your business adaptive. Now imagine this final scenario. So you have this data, you found specific niche, you want to build this new thing, make a pivot, new feature. And how do you know that your team wouldn't tell you that you need to rewrite everything? Well, the way you know